Hi, I'm John Quigley, President and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In these challenging economic times, it's imperative that our residents and businesses band together to not only shop Elmhurst, but buy Elmhurst whenever possible. We have great stores in our city center, Spring Road, Butterfield Road, York and Villette Streets, St. Charles and Route 83, North Avenue and Lake Street, along North York and even Grand Avenue. I ask for your help. Let's keep our tax dollars in Elmhurst. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Quigley, President and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Once again, welcome you to the 92nd Annual Meeting and Awards Dinner, plus our Civic Hall of Fame induction. Yes, go ahead. Nice round of applause. We will start the Chamber Award presentations by bringing up the 92nd Chairperson of the Board of Directors of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry, from Howard and Howard. Scott Levin, Attorney Scott Levin. Scott, come on up. Scott recently appointed an alderman. Congratulate Scott on that. He co-chaired the mayor's task force that helped put the finances in a bit of an order. And Scott's here to do some introductions, and then we're going to do some awards.
All right. Well, this is we changed chairman back in November, but because of the event happening in January, we have the transition occur a little bit later. It's been a very interesting year for the chamber. Like any business, we've had some difficult times. There's some people I want to thank in particular. Our chamber would not be what it is without the fine leadership of John Quigley, who has not only righted the ship, but kept us laughing for the whole year while we were going broke. Actually, we're in very good shape. And I don't hold it against John that the entire staff quit at the end of last year. I also want to, we have a number of people we're honoring. Jason Janes in particular, who was the chairman immediately preceding me, has been a very valuable contributor to the chamber and so many things in the community. And Tom Marcucci, you've been a great mayor, and I'm a big fan of yours, and I know you'll be getting accolades later, but I personally wanted to congratulate you. And we'll move on to the rest of the awards when you're ready.
We certainly are. We have 5 directors who left our service this year. 2 of them happen to be here today, and we'd like Scott to recognize them with their director's plaque. First, Scott, who you want to call up?
Julie Miller.
Julie Miller.
Julie is back on the board. She's also chaired our golf outing and has been a very active member in the chamber. Thank you, Julie, and I'm sorry for what you did to your husband there, but congratulations.
Go ahead.
All right. And Jason Janes, a retiring director after 2 full terms of great service and the former chairman of the board.
Smile for the camera. Come on, come on. Come on, Jason. Get in. Smile for the camera.
Just for jobs.
All our directors did a terrific job. We also had Todd Gibbons, Deborah Catalano, and Jill Bennis, who could not be here this evening, but they completed terms on the board of directors, and we thank them for their service in that way. Now it's time for Scott to say something about his 2010 Executive Committee and the officers of the Chamber.
Well, I want to thank all of the officers. There are a lot of people who serve on boards, and I think everyone in this room is someone who's probably served on a board. And as you know, we have two kinds of board members, those that do and those that build up their resume. And in our case, for the Chamber's directors of 2010, working through some very difficult financial times, we had a full board of people who were doers and really made the Chamber a fine organization and thrived in a year of difficult times. Are we going to move right to?
Why don't you recognize your exec committee?
All right. You're going to put me on the spot here. So I'll ask you to stand because I do, at this age it's hard to recognize everyone, but I think I can. Jason Janes, immediate past chair. Kevin O'Keefe is our current chairman. Kevin, you can all stand up for a second, don't be shy. Jennifer Speaker. Kelly, stand up there. All right. Am I missing anyone? And our president. Yeah. Thank you all very much.
Now we get to our major awards for the year. First off, Scott's got a chairman's award that he's like to present. This is an award that the chairman decides on. It can be a member of the board of directors or just a chamber member in general, but it's somebody that the chairman personally feels made a huge contribution to the operations of the chamber and to the workings of the board of directors. Scott, why don't you let us know who you picked this year?
This year, it's Jennifer Speaker. Jennifer, you want to come on up? Jennifer, in addition to serving as a committee chairman, come over to this side, Jennifer. Over here. She also, stepped in for a number of special tasks. We've had some issues with our website, with our computer vendors, and that happens to be Jennifer's business. She helped us straighten out these issues with our vendors and helped advance our. Yeah, just don't text while I'm talking, John.
No, I'm Twittering.
You're Twittering, yeah.
Based on the Twitter and Facebook pages.
She got us on Twitter, Facebook, and she chaired the committees for social networking for our chamber and stepped up a little bit above and beyond the call of duty, and I wanted to express my appreciation as chairman to you, Jennifer. Thank you very much.
Did you say anything, Jennifer?
It's your chance to.
Well, I spent all day working on the speech.
You got a script.
Little one. No, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's great to see everyone dressed up and out on a Friday night. And during the last 10 years, I've enjoyed being part of the chamber as both a director and a member. But what's great to see is that the technology has really changed a lot of our businesses and changed the chamber as well, since we've got some Twittering and Facebook going on from up here and the mayor texting at 4 in the morning. So, just a rumor. But what I really love about the chamber is the fact that we have relationships and that we keep our communications open in environments like this where we can have conversations. So even though I have a technology company, I love the fact that I get to see people all the time from the chamber. So I'd like to share this with Desert Rose, who came up with a wonderful design for the website. So thank you. Helen over there.
You can stand up, Helen.
Wave, stand up, wave. and also the staff at the chamber, who now has Chamber Master, which is a product that allows John and any of the interns to update the website at any computer that they can get to, or even from their phones. So thank you so much for honoring me.
Our next honoree is the Ambassador of the Year. First, to get this award, you must be an ambassador. One, you have to be an ambassador in the year we give the award, and the other thing is you really have to go above and beyond the call. This year was, as Scott said, a particularly trying year, and there were many instances that I could not be present at numerous ribbon cuttings, grand openings, because I was attending different kinds of economic development meetings, working with the state chamber, the U.S. chamber, working with local government. And every time I was unable to do that, or even in some instances where I couldn't attend a membership breakfast or a business after hours, our past chairman and this year's Ambassador of the Year, Jason Janes, was able to step in and fill my shoes and my green coat during that time. Would you congratulate and welcome Jason Janes, our Ambassador of the Year. Oh, I'll give it to him. We're good? Thank you, Jason. Take the podium.
I was likening filling in for John as a pinch hitter, and as many of you know, John is quite the baseball player, or so he says, and he'll tell you plenty of stories. And so I've had the privilege to fill in for John, and the green coats themselves, of which there are a couple in the audience this evening. They're truly the public relations arm of the chamber. They get out there to make sure that every new business in the town, and even in the area that has joined the chamber, has a warm welcome. Today we did one at York and Villette, and there was a national manager there and said, I've been blown away by Elmhurst hospitality and reception, and we thank the Elmhurst Chamber because this is the best ribbon cutting we've ever been a part of. And that says a lot about all the folks in the audience that make that possible every Friday from January through December. So thank you all to the green coats that are here. I don't have a prepared speech, but I'll offer this, that when I had more microphone time last year, I didn't truly thank the person that allows me to do so many of these things, my wife, Chris. The chamber, in addition to running my business, has taken a lot of time, and Chris has been more than accommodating and covering for Allison at the house and everything that goes with that. And I'll also offer to Barb Savage, who has been the pinch hitter so much for John through the last 10 years, and I don't think Barb's here today, but Barb has been an instrumental part of the entire chamber, and she's moved on to Community Bank of Elmhurst in town, but Barb Savage has helped groom me into the person that gets this Ambassador Award today. So thank you all for coming this evening and continue your support of the Elmhurst Chamber.
And now I would like to recall Dave from Harris Bank. Come on up here. You're gonna have to hold the Business of the Year trophy and then do the official handover to our 2010 recipient, which is OEC Business Interiors. OEC has been a member of the Chamber since 1997. After relocating from Chicago to our North Business Park, it was a great coup to be able to get them into town, generating all kinds of sales taxes and continuing to do so for the 13 plus years that they've been here. They have also been actively involved in numerous organizations throughout the community, including the Chamber of Commerce. Jillian Malinkovich, who now works for OEC Business Interiors, started out as a job path intern with the Chamber, and then through OEC later served on our board of directors. Other OEC members have served on the board and on various committees. They've done a terrific job, and this is a really great family business that's had generations of family participating in it. Last spring at our annual spring luncheon, we did a salute to multi-generational family businesses. And in the chamber alone, there were 80 different businesses that represented 2 generations or more of families running their business, just in the chamber. And some of them were 4 generations, going back 120, 140 years. That's an amazing thing. We're lucky to have a business like OEC in our town for all they do, not just as a business entity, but how they get involved in the community and contribute. I know Elmhurst Hospital would agree with me, as would numerous other businesses and organizations. I would like to call the representative of OEC to come up here. Come on up. And this is Rachel Reha, part of the Reha family that has run OEC in various forms and entities from back in its Chicago roots to its fruition here in Elmhurst. Rachel, why don't you move over to Dave? And Dave, officially hand the trophy off. Oh, come on, you got to, Scott, get in here for a photo. Get in here for a photo. There we go. You want me to hold that while you? Sure. Yeah. It is.
I'm, as he said, Rachel Reha, and on behalf of my family and everybody at OEC, I just wanted to thank the Chamber for honoring us today. And it's been a pleasure having our business in Elmhurst, and we look forward to continued success in the community.
And before our Harris representative leaves, while they give up the one-year traveling trophy, as OEC will have to do next year at this event, we do have a plaque for you to display at Harris and Elmhurst, and Scott's going to present that to you to show that you are one of the Business of the Years of the Chamber of Commerce. Give Harris a nice round of applause as well. One other thing I'd like to mention about Harris while they're here today is 3 years ago, Harris came to us and talked about doing something different in terms of sponsorship. And they actually bought a huge package of things that go on throughout the year. And in 2009, they became our biggest single sponsor by signing a check for $10,000, in which they basically sponsored everything the Chamber does throughout the course of the year. And that relationship worked so well that in 2010 they did the same thing, and they've done the same thing for 2011. Would you give Harris a great round of applause for that support? One of the beneficiaries of that support will be our current chairman of the board, who was elected at our November board meeting. His name is Kevin O'Keefe. Would you welcome the 93rd chairman of the board of directors of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry? Kevin? You need to stay up here for a second, too.
Thank you very much. Last week at the State of Our City, Pete did a great job, State of Our City address. I'm up there at the dais and waiting to say my speech. And just before I say it, Bill Gooch, who I love you, Bill Gooch. Bill Gooch goes and says exactly what I was going to say. So I'm very nervous. I was very nervous up there, and he said it. So I said, as Bill said, so I repeat. So what I want to talk to you guys about is what the Chamber, what we're going after this year. Our big mantra is this year is shop local, buy local. I was talking to John the other day about this. For people in the audience out there, as far as the city, if you shop local, buy local, any local business that is in the Elmhurst area, whether it be Silverado, whether it be any small business, 70% of the money that you spend at that business stays in the community. On the local national brands, 40% stays in the community. So it's really important that when we're going to do our, this year we're going to do a big thing with shop local, buy local. It's really important that we do buy local. So I just wanted to say that real quickly. But I came up here to give an award to our past chairman right here, the big gavel. I want to thank Scott Levin for all the years of service. Thank you very much, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you both. The beautiful thing is, the chairman, during the chairman's year, I get to abuse the chairman. So at all events, I get to make fun of him and do those kinds of things. The past chair, though, then gets the right to do all those same kind of things to me during the course of that year. Fortunately, I understand Scott's duties as a alderman will mean he can't come to any chamber events during the course of the next year. So I'll just have to do without his gentle and kind ribbing over the course of the next year. For the longest time, this chamber has done a Civic Hall of Fame award that's been really important to the people of Elmhurst and to the community at large. That award has traditionally been presented at the opening ceremonies of Elmfest. We had to walk away from Elmfest a few years ago. Last year, because our recipient wasn't available for this event, we did that presentation at our spring luncheon. So for the first time ever, we're actually going to do our Civic Hall of Fame induction as part of our annual meeting and awards banquet. At this time, I would like to call Ken Bartels of Ken Bartels Consulting and Community Bank of Elmhurst to come up and serve as the Master of Ceremonies for our Civic Hall of Fame induction. Give Ken a nice round of applause.
It has been my great pleasure to be a part of the selection and induction of all of the inductees into the Civic Hall of Fame since it was created in 1992. And as I look at the list that's in your program, it's a pretty exclusive club, and we'll induct our 19th member here in just a few minutes. I believe there's always a danger in this, but I believe that there are two inductees in the room, and I'd like you to recognize them, and that would be Virginia Harmon and Willis Johnson. Now, as John said, most of these inductees were done at Elmfest, the opening ceremonies on Friday evenings. And I'll just speak for myself, but I miss Elmfest. I know it was a tremendous amount of work and probably wasn't very cost effective, but it sure was a lot of fun most of the time. Having said that, it is an exclusive club, and it's a club that tonight welcomes a gentleman by the name of Tom Marcucci, who was present for most of those previous Elmfest inductions. Now, as I look at the list, and Ginny and Willis are here, but when I look at the list, there are some that just stand out for me. I remember we inducted Lee Daniels in a driving rainstorm. I think there were 6 people there in total. I remember inducting Tachi Teronis after he had passed away, and his family arriving to receive that honor, and then shortly thereafter, Mrs. Teronis passed away as well. I remember the very emotional response that Abner Gannett made in 2007. So now I would share with you some thoughts about Tom Marcucci. When I think of Tom Marcucci, I think first of a strong family man. I then think of a 4-term, 16-year mayor of Elmhurst, a visionary leader with a very thoughtful and practical planning side, a proponent of all things Elmhurst and all Elmhurstonians, and someone who thoroughly enjoyed being mayor of his town. I think of Tom as a good and loyal friend, and to quote him, just another bread salesman. So Tom, would you join John and I up here, please, and your first round of applause for Tom Marcucci. The Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry Civic Hall of Fame, Thomas D. Marcucci, an insightful and dedicated leader, a mayor of record service, success, and involvement, a man devoted to family, friends, community, and country, presented at the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry Annual Meeting and Awards Dinner, January 28, 2011, Civic Hall of Fame 19th inductee, Tom Marcucci.
Thank you, sir. You good? Well, thank you. He's gone. Yeah. So, shall I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, very good.
You have 2 minutes.
You know, John has a way of stealing my thunder. I was going to say, I heard that one of the things that the committee really sweated about was we're giving Marcucci a microphone, and he hasn't had one in a year or so. So we better buckle up. I promised him I would keep it to 40 minutes, if that's okay with you folks. I am really honored. You honor me greatly with this recognition. This is the Elmhurst Hall of Fame, and I think a quick perusal of the list of the folks who have gotten it before bears that out. It's really an honor and a pleasure for me to be included in this group. I looked over the list and I realized that I know pretty much everybody on the list and have interacted with them in one way or another over time. I would share with you that some of these folks had something to do with me being here tonight in a really deep and important way. They were my mentors. They were people who looked over me as a young man. You should know that I was banging in and out of the back door at Ginny Harmon's house in the 1960s when I was just a little ruffian over at York High School, palling around with Darby Harmon, her son, who was, you should know, one of my very dearest and best friends in the world. And so I've known her for a long time. I've known Joe Newton since he was yelling at me as a freshman at York High School about not standing in the right place in the gym class, and he was challenging me to come out. He told me once, share a story. How much time do I have, John?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. He told me, he called me the best untrained runner he ever saw, which I repeated over and over and over again to people in the school until they told me that he tells somebody that in every gym class he ever had over a 50-plus year period. And as you all know, or I hope you know, Abner Gannett was my first boss. My first job was working for him at Leonard's Store for Men when I was 14 years old. So these are people who are important to Elmhurst, but certainly very, very important to me personally. I assume that the award this evening, as it says in the book here, had something to do with my time in City Hall and a recognition that those 16 years were generally a very, if I may be so bold, a very good time for Elmhurst. And it's true, I enjoyed it. I threw myself into the job. I loved it. I really enjoyed being mayor, and it was great. But you have to know that the success that we garnered as a community was not my success. I learned very early on, by way of example, that my ticket to success was going to be to stay the heck out of Mr. Borchard's way. Because Tom Borchard knew what he was doing. And Tom Borchard knew our city, and he knew what it needed. And what I perceived a lot of before I entered public life, and what I saw a lot of after I entered public life, was the elected officials getting in the way and mucking up the works for the people that knew what they're doing, the professionals. And Mr. Borchard was certainly all of that. He is a dedicated public servant. He lived in the community that he was the city manager of. That's not very common, you should know. He is a man with an ethical streak about a mile wide. I once had someone come to me. How much time do I have, John?
2 minutes.
I once had someone come to me and they wanted to make an appointment. What do you want? It says, I got a real problem with Mr. Borchard. He's stealing from the city and you need to know about it. And I got to tell you, for the next 2 days, from the time I got that phone call to the time I had the meeting, I was so upset I almost wanted to vomit, because if Mr. Borchard was a crook, then the world's coming to an end. I mean, that's just the way it is. And the person came in and they said, because it's my job, I have to hear this out. There's an allegation. I want to hear what it is. The person comes in and they say, you know, he works out every day at lunch. I said, what? He said, well, he goes over to the courts, and he's over there for an hour plus. That's on city time. He should be in the office. He said, do you know that Mr. Borchard comes to work about 6 o'clock in the morning every day and leaves this building well after 5? In 16 years, Think about this. In 16 years, I never beat Tom Borchert to the office. Never. So if he was going to take an hour and 15 minutes for a lunch hour, I think it was okay. I think we were going to be able to survive that little issue there. But see, that's the kind of stuff that people in public life put up with, is that because he was living in his own community, people knew who he was and they saw him. And there were people timing his time on the treadmill over at the courts to make sure that Elmhurst was getting. I got to tell you, we got our money out of Tom Borchert. There's no question about it, just so you know. And of course, you know, on a day-to-day operation, which I get a lot of credit for, I didn't. Mr. Borchert and his crew did the job. I'm a policymaker. But you also need to know that in the Elmhurst City Council, when the city of Elmhurst gets together as a corporate authority to meet and make decisions, I didn't have a vote, did I? I had a gavel. I didn't have a vote. The aldermen, many of whom are here this evening, and I thank you guys for coming out, they have the vote. Alderman Vanek is here, Jan Vanek is here, Susan Rose. Raise your hand, guys. Mark Mulliner, Norm Leader. These are people that serve our community. And they go through the same kind of thing Mr. Borchert goes through, with people taking pot shots at him. And, you know, they buy a car. Did they get a deal on the car? How did they get a new car? Well, they have a job. They work 40 hours a week. What do you mean, how did they get a new car? So, you know, but this is the kind of stuff that goes on. But we had a very consistent, steady group of elected officials who kept their eye on the ball and did the business. And quite frankly, under Mayor DeCiani, Mayor is here, and I thank you for honoring me with your presence. Mayor DeCiani. You know, these are people who are these are public servants. They're giving to their community. He's not doing this for the money. It pays about $8,000. Now think about that. I don't know if you know what it costs to run, even for aldermen today. There were aldermanic races the last time around were costing more than $20,000. And people are doing this so that they can go and make $1,500 or whatever. It's, you know, this is public service, pure and simple. And we come, like I did, we move across the stage, we do our time, and we go. And when I feel very comfortable about my decision to leave office. You should know it wasn't because I was tired of it or sick of it. I loved it. I loved it every day, right up to the last day. But it was simply time to go. Is it time to go, John? How much time do I have? 2 minutes. Okay. And now it's time for other people like Mayor DeCiani and his young crew, and Scott Levin, who just hasn't even got the seat warm yet. He's just there. He's just experiencing it for the first time. And it'll be a wonderful time. I said to him earlier tonight, I hope you're there for 20 years. He looked at me and said, is it a life term? No, it's not a life term, but I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get something out of it. Serving your community is a significant thing. It's what you do. It's what the Elmhurst Chamber does. Everybody in this room tonight is an active Elmhurst Chamber member. And that means that for a little bit of the week, every week, you stop worrying about just your business and what's good for me and what's good for mine, and you look to the broader community. And you try to make it better for everybody. Some of those everybody's are your competitors, aren't they? Some of those people really can't help you in any way, but that doesn't matter. Isn't it a great thing when someone reaches at a luncheon and says, hey, welcome to Elmhurst? When you hear from that gentleman that we heard the story earlier tonight, at a ribbon cutting earlier today, and he says, I go to these all the time, and this is the best reception I've ever had. You know what? That's not the first time I heard that. We used to hear that on a regular basis. The people at that downtown Chase Bank in Willis Johnson's building there at Schiller in New York, they said the same thing. Heck, those people were completely blown away. They said, we had no idea that Elmhurst was such a wonderful town. What a wonderful community. And going out of your way to welcome us like this, it's very important that people know that we're there to support them. And I'll echo the thing about Shop Elmhurst. For guys knows, the mayor's dealing with problems that I never had. The economy is not the economy that I had. I was blessed. Every dollar that stays in Elmhurst is an important dollar. We need to keep our community. My goal was to make sure we had the revenue streams so that the city could do what it needed to do to support the property values in our community. That was my core constituency, the individual single-family homeowner in our community. And everything I did for them. I didn't do it for the city staff, and I didn't do it for the businesses, and I didn't do it for the college. The colleges. I did it to improve the quality of life in our community, which was then reflected in the property values, and I think that we saw that. So it was a great run. I was glad to do it. 16 years was enough. I think my wife was glad. Mimi is here. My wife, Mimi, do one of these. I need to thank her. I couldn't have done it without her support, period. You cannot do this kind of stuff without support at home, and my kids were I was missing from some of their stuff, not too much, but some, and I thank you and my family for all the support that I got. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I'm glad to be recognized in this capacity. I'll leave you with this thought. Elmhurst was a great, great community long before I sat up in a chair and decided I was going to run for mayor. And it's going to be a great, great community deep into the future. And with your hard work, working with the chamber and with the elected officials in City Hall, we can all ensure that that's going to happen for our beloved Elmhurst. Thank you very much for this recognition.
Terrific. Well deserved. Great speech, by the way, too. Well, since we are fortunate enough to have our current mayor present, I'm going to call him on the spot. He wasn't expecting to get up in front of the microphone, but would you welcome the current mayor of the city of Elmhurst, Peter DeCiani. Pete? Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. And what an evening to be around a legend that taught me a thing or two. And I met Tom Marcucci, gosh, probably it was 1994, was it maybe, at a golf outing for ECAF. And he inspired me. He was the chairman of the charity at the time and very, very active. And the charity was a charity that I became very passionate about. And I think that's what public service is really all about. It's about doing things that we're doing here tonight. We're here doing the right things for civics and for honoring people that have done well. But ECAF was a special charity that just helped so many local families. And then I remember as I got involved, and all of a sudden I was drafted to be a director after I ran a golf outing, and then I was actually working with the families. And I got a family that needed a busing issue. They had to try to get their kid from point A to point B. And who would I call? I call the mayor. Mayor, I got a problem. I got a kid. I can't. He's trying to go to college and he's in a wheelchair. He's in a tough spot. He lives in South Elmhurst, and he goes, well, let me see what I can do. About 15 minutes later, I get a call from Metra, or actually Pace. And the executive director of Pace calls me and says, okay, Mayor Marcucci asked me to call you, and we're gonna fix this problem. And within probably about an hour and a half, I had an answer to the problem and a solution. And that man inspired me to run for mayor. So I take my hat off to you for all the things you've done for our city, and for you got a great family, a loving wife. I know what that's like too, because it's my wife's given a lot of sacrifice to do the different things that I've done, not only with my business and civically, and now as mayor as well. So we got a great city, great people that make up. I'm an echo. I can't take credit for this one. It's the people that make a difference. It's the Tom Borchard line. So, and that's truly what makes Elmhurst special. It's the people. God bless. Thank you.
Don't be surprised if that mayor's up on this dais receiving a plaque in the years to come. And like the previous two mayors, he'll probably go way beyond his speech limit. Ken mentioned Abner. He was particularly funny. He got the microphone in his hand, and he basically told us everything he was mad about and didn't like since the time he stopped being mayor. Yeah. It's the one where I tried to move in like 4 or 5 times, and Abner saw it and just kind of turned his back on me and kept going. But Pete mentioned it, Tom mentioned it. We are a blessed community. We have people who have vested their lives, their homes, their businesses, their families in this community. We talked about the multi-general nature of it. The joke around town is if you moved in the 1980s, you're a newcomer. You're new to Elmhurst because you've only been here 30 years. If you haven't been here 50 or more, you're just a newcomer. It's an amazing community to be that way. I also have another opportunity, as both Mayor DeCiani and Mayor Marcucci mentioned. We are going to be losing a great city manager after decades of terrific service. It's hard to believe this. Elmhurst, in its history, since going to a city manager form of government, which was pushed through by the help of the Elmhurst JCs back in the 50s, I believe, in all those years, this city has had 2 city managers, Mr. Palmer and Mr. Borchert. And just like we lost a lot when we lost Mr. Palmer, we are losing a ton when we lose Mr. Borchert. Would you give him a great round of applause? And by the way, I've seen him play basketball, which is why he needs an hour and a half on the court just to get it done. Once again, as the president and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry, this is an opportunity for me to thank you for your support of the Chamber. As Scott and Kevin have mentioned, these have been trying times for the business community and for the Chamber. We've been hit hard, just like every small business. And in fact, losing 2/3 of my staff in the last 2 months, it has become a particular challenge. I joked that I was actually going to announce my resignation this evening. It's not actually that I have another job. I just felt like I should get into the spirit of things. Since everybody who works for me is resigning, I should just resign and be done with it. I did submit my resignation, but I refused to accept it. So with that, I thank you all for your support of the Chamber, for your attendance at our 92nd annual meeting and awards banquet, and our Civic Hall of Fame induction for our 19th Civic Hall of Fame inductee. Would you give all our award winners a final round of applause? And I bid you good evening.
Visit Elmhurst.org to explore the new City of Elmhurst website. Find out the latest Elmhurst news, pay utility bills and parking tickets, report concerns, and much more. Elmhurst.org is an ideal way to discover what Elmhurst offers your business, your family, your life.
Hi, I'm Elmhurst Police Chief Steve Neubauer. Elmhurst is a great place to live and work. However, we are not crime-free. Many people in our community become victims of crime simply because they did not lock their belongings. I would ask you to do 2 things. First, lock your car, house, and bike. Secondly, call 911 to report suspicious activity to the Elmhurst Police Department. The Elmhurst Police Department reminds you to lock it or lose it.